Very excited today for this episode. It's a very unique one with E.A. Csolkovits, founder of Givers University, entrepreneur, creator, and an amazing human. So, E.A., are you ready to enter the grid?
You bet. I am. I'm there. I'm there with you.
Awesome. So I given a little bit about you, EA. Why don't you give us a little more about who you are and what you do?
Well, thank you. I'm the founder and patriarch of Givers University, and it's a university that actually the very seeds of it began when I was 19 years old, and I'm 65 today. So
Wow,
quite a few years ago.
awesome.
And so that's when the actual very first seeds happened. And I'd like to share the story with your listeners, if I may.
Oh yeah, sure, of course, yeah.
I was born in from the United States, and a place called Chicago, and actually the suburb of Chicago is called Oak Brook, which is also where the world headquarters of McDonald's was for many, many years.
Really?
Yes. And
awesome.
So I lived right in that area. And my father, when I was growing up, was a milkman. And back in those days, they had there was a box outside all the houses, and there was money in the box. And it was funny, no one ever touched the money because they all knew that was the milkman's money. And my father was one of those milkmen. And then at 5 years old, I would help him a lot of times on the route. And we'd go and deliver. Milk was in glass containers back then, glass gallons. And we'd fill up these boxes with whatever they ordered. And the money in there was for the milkman. And that was really, so my upbringing was very humble in that way. It was very, nothing spectacular.
The milkman. This is what.
literally the milkman. Literally.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah. And and then from there, Hussein, I decided to take my first big step into success, and I moved my life all the way up into becoming a janitor.
Wow, big step.
Big step. Now, yeah. I didn't mind that because business was always picking up. Yeah. What? Anyway, so so here I was at 16 years old, and I had two real unique experiences that had a big impact on my life that ultimately led to Givers University because of being a janitor. At 16 years old, I was able to be bonded. And in the US, that means you could be insured. So I could be in expensive locations. And I don't know if you ever saw the movie, Hussein, that was on was in the theaters for some time, and it's still out today, on different channels. But it was called The Founder.
Yeah, I saw it.
About McDonald's. Okay. Yeah. Right, then some of the references I'm about ready to make, you'll remember. The movie, first of all, is very Hollywoodized, of course.
There must be an element of Hollywood effects. It doesn't have to be 100% maybe the actual thing that happened, I believe. Maybe.
Correct. Yeah, it had some. You're absolutely correct. It was based on certain events that did happen, but the rest of it was all Hollywoodized. And so Michael Keaton, if you remember in the movie, plays Ray Kroc.
Yeah.
And outside his office, he keeps talking to a lady, and he says, June. You always hear him say June, right? And that's the lady whose house I cleaned. That lady.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. And so every Wednesday, I was in her home. And at this point, when I was cleaning her house, I was 16, but she was already worth many, many zeros financially. She was very wealthy.
What year was this?
Well, let's see. I was 16, so 45. So, that was I'd have to do the math. But it was the late 70s.
Awesome. Okay.
Late 70s. When you have so many years to choose from, it becomes more of a challenge. So it was late 70s. I was 16, and I was born in 56. So every Wednesday I was in June's house cleaning it because I was able to be bonded and insured because there's a lot of expensive things in there. So one day, Hussein, I could, and you know what was amazing? She was actually a very nice lady. She was very approachable, always said hello, always nice, never condescending, never treated people lower, even though she was very, very wealthy and an icon in the area, and very approachable. She always said hi to me, and I always said hi back, and that kind of thing.
Awesome.
So one day, Hussein, I could tell she was in an extra good mood. And I thought, okay, this is my chance. So here I am.
Chance for what?
a 16-year-old snot-nosed kid. And I went up to her and I said, June, can I ask you a question? And she said, sure. I remember this is the same movie that's in the same lady that's in that movie, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's an actress. That's really not her, but the person that she portrays. And I said, could you tell me about it? And she said, what? And I said, well, the whole McDonald's thing. I'm not kidding, Hussein. She put her arm around me, brought me into the kitchen, and told me the entire story from the very beginning all the way through to the moment we were sitting in the kitchen. In fact, she even had the maids and butlers bringing us food so she could keep telling me the story during the day in the kitchen.
Cool.
I mean, it
So
was
she told you from the beginning. It started with Ray Kroc, and how he met the brothers until where the story was ended.
exactly where her and I were sitting in the kitchen.
Yeah,
Everything
exactly.
between. Because she actually worked for Ray before he hooked up with McDonald's. She
Yeah,
worked
he was working selling ice cream machines or something like
milkshake
that.
mixers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so she worked for him with that company. So she was already an employee of his. Now, she got to a part in the story, and this is the part that really impacted me. She got to the part of the story, and in the movie, they actually reference this as saying there's a time in the movie where June goes to Ray, Michael Keaton, and says, "We don't have any money. We're running out of the money." And that causes him to call the brothers and say, "I need more percentage. I need more percentage." I don't know if you remember that in the movie, but anyway, that's a true fact. That actually happened. So she told me that it occurred. Now, this is way before, decades before the movie.
Yeah.
And she said there was a time when Ray couldn't afford to pay me.
Maybe
So
because I don't know. Maybe at that time they were actually opening branches for it, or wasn't.
Well, he wasn't getting a big enough. The royalty was only like
Ah,
less than 2%.
yeah.
So it was too small. He had more money going out. They had coming in, so they were losing money.
Yeah.
As he opened each franchise, he actually was losing more money than if he wasn't. So June went to him and said, "We're out of money." So Ray made a deal with her that if she stayed with him as an employee, he couldn't pay her any money, but he gave her worthless company stock. It wasn't worth anything. It was worthless.
Wow.
And he agreed, Haseen, to take the phone calls from the bill collectors when they called her for money. He would take the phone call so she wouldn't get hassled. That was the deal.
Okay. Good deal.
Yeah. Well, but at the time it seemed like it was nothing because she's getting worthless stock. In fact, it's worth nothing, right?
Yeah.
So I asked her, "Why did you do it?" I said, "June, I'm a janitor. I work Friday. I work week to week, paycheck to paycheck. If I don't get paid on Friday, I'm not showing Saturday. So
Exactly.
yeah. So why'd you do it?" And here's the thing: she sat back in her chair and stared right at me, and I could tell I had just asked her a question no one else had asked her before.
What's
And
that?
she stared at me, and it was like 10 seconds, but it seemed like an hour because she's staring at me. But I could tell she's not home. Her mind is somewhere else. Because she's thinking of this answer no one had ever asked her. And what she said, the way she said it, made the hair stand up on the back of my neck because of not only what she said, but what she said. When I said, "June, why'd you do it?" Because I believed in Ray.
Okay, so she trusted him completely.
Exactly. And I remember the first thing, Hussein, when she said that, my first thought after was, I got to find a Ray Kroc. I've got to find someone that can teach me. Here I am, son of a milkman, burnt out janitor who my fun time of every day is getting free songs on the jukebox at 2 a.m. in bowling alleys that I clean, so that's my fun time of the day. I need to find someone to teach me this stuff.
Yeah, a mentor.
Exactly the right word. I need to find a mentor that'll put me under his wing and teach me all the stuff because I don't know even where to begin. I just know I want it. And here I'm in June's house and I'm pulling out the Rolls Royce and I'm thinking, man, I'm sitting in this car and it's, to clean the garage. And I'm sitting in this car that's worth, 10 times I'll ever earn in my lifetime. And, but I'm thinking she's a regular person, Hussein. She's not some superhero. She's not like an alien, and she's not a jerk. She doesn't treat people bad. I mean, she's
nice.
really, and I thought, well, if she can do it, maybe I can.
Exactly.
I just need to find, I don't have a Ray Kroc, so I need to find one of those.
Yeah, you need to find some Ray Kroc for yourself.
Exactly. And it wasn't 2 or 3 months later. We got a phone call at the janitorial service. And this is the next story. And there's a little bit of a learning lesson here for your listeners.
Yeah, sure.
As we got this phone call, and I was at the office with the owner. It was after hours. I had already punched out. And back then, Hussein, they had a time clock, and you had to punch out.
Yeah.
And you felt like punching out. You felt like really punching it out. Because you hated what you did, right?
Yeah.
So here I am at the end of the day. already punched out. I'm talking to the boss. Him and I are the only two in the office. And the phone rings. He hangs up the phone. He said, I need you to go sew some carpeting. And I said, Jerry, I don't know. That's the boss's name. I said, I don't know anything about carpeting. I said, I just clean the places. And he said, well, he gives me one of these wheels and he said, walk this way in the room and call me on the phone and I'll give you the quote. And I said, no, Jerry, I'm punched out. I'm done. I said no a second time. He said, I'll tell you what, I have to stay here. But if you go and show him the carpeting, I will give you any Saturday off you want.
Okay,
now,
so that's tempting.
Yeah, well, for a janitor, you see, on Saturday when businesses are closed, we're working, we're cleaning, right? So that's a big negotiation chip.
Wow.
If you can get off on a Saturday, that's crazy. So I repeated it back to him. I said, any Saturday I want off? And he said, yep, any Saturday. I took a deep breath and I said, okay. And I went and I punched back in, went back to the time clock in. Now, here's setting the stage. Begrudgingly, I don't want to go. I don't want to go meet this guy. It's in the evening already. I don't know anything about carpeting. I'm doing this for only one reason, and that's I'm going to get a Saturday off.
As long as you want.
It's the only reason. It's the only reason I'm going, right? So I don't want to go. Little do I know, I'm getting ready to meet the man that will change the trajectory, the direction of my life forever.
Awesome.
So I share with your listeners, be cautious, aware, and discerning for the person and that moment in time that at that moment will be so and seem so insignificant, but will be the event that changes the whole direction of your life.
Yeah.
And I met my business mentor, and that's how I met him. He was the guy that I went to meet.
Awesome. That's sometimes a little switch in stories, or if you don't want something that happens to you, maybe it could be the good thing that happens to you. So you should have opportunities come into you and say yes to some of them.
That's right, and be open and aware.
Like maybe the movie Yes by Jim Carrey. But not all the yeses, maybe some yeses. Think about it and say yes. if any one of the listeners watched that movie.
Yeah, exactly. So I met my business mentor, and he began to mentor me, and we made an agreement. I knew Hussein that he was very successful. He was very rich. It was very, it's easy to see, and he was happy. And I thought, boy, that's what I want. I didn't realize, Hussein, I even had it backwards then. We're supposed to be happy first and then rich, not rich then happy, right?
Okay.
And so we should learn to be happy and
money does not make you happy in the general sense of the word. And
exactly.
Money should not define you as a human being and how you treat people and who you are and what you do.
Exactly right. Exactly. So I had it backwards, but I told him, I said, can you teach me, Sam? That's my business mentor's name, Sam Robbins. I said, Sam, can you teach me? I don't know what to do. And he said, okay, I'll teach you, but I need something from you. And I want to let you know, Hussein, no matter what he said, I was going to say yes. It didn't matter. I was ready. I wanted to learn, right? So he said, here's the thing. I'll teach you everything and I won't hold back. But when the time is right and you'll know the time, I want you to teach everyone else what I taught you.
Cool. Cool. Nice message. Yeah.
And that became the vow and the oath I made at 19 years old that later on manifested into Givers University today.
Oh, awesome. So speaking of Givers University, what is a giver in general and what is a taker? Is there
a great question. Great question. And here's what we do. First of all, I always mention to everyone, we love everybody. We love everybody. And what we do at Givers University is we teach people, actually, we teach something that just isn't taught today. It really isn't taught.
What is that?
And that is, we teach people how to separate the person who we love from their deeds which we may not love.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, yes. You may love like or love someone, but they do something that annoys you, so you take it personally on them. Which actually should be taken on the same deed that it's done.
Exactly right. So we teach people what we call discernment. We teach them how to discern. And through our courses in Givers University, we actually, the whole foundation of the whole university is based on a series of 3 courses that are called Give to Be Great. And the first course is called The Giver's Mindset, how givers think differently than takers. They think differently. The second course is called The Giver's Lifestyle. There we identify the 30 habits to look for, things that givers do over and over again that you can see, and the things that takers do over and over again that you can see. And then the last is called The Giver's Lifestyle, or Giver's Lifelong Learning. And there we teach the 6 prisons, 6 virtual prisons that people are walking around in that they don't even realize they're walking around in these prisons.
Really, what they are, these 6 prisons?
Well, we're actually going to be able to provide that to your listeners as something they can see in even a checklist form.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Okay, we'll talk about later.
Yeah, for sure. So one of the things that we do, and the best way to describe this, again, getting to your question, your answer.
Yeah.
If right now, Hussein, you had itchy eyes and a runny nose, I could assess you probably have a cold, right?
Yeah.
I'm not able to see the cold. I'm not able to see it, but I know that that's the cause, right? So, and what I can see is the symptoms. So we teach people, look for these symptoms, or in our instance, the deeds. Look for the specific things someone is doing. And when you see these specific deeds, and we actually give them checklists, these are the things. Look for these things. When you see them doing these things, you can begin to decide, should I pull them in closer into my life as a part of my givers community? Because they always bring with, we call the 3 W's, wisdom, wealth, and wellness. Should I bring those people in closer into my life? Or because of the deeds I'm seeing, should I begin respectfully distancing myself? Not nasty or not rude or insensitive, respectfully distancing myself, because when I pull them and let them into my life, they're going to bring with them what we call the 3 D's of a taker, and that is defeatism, disruption, and destruction. And what will happen is they will bring those things with them, and now I'm stomping out these fires. So we teach people how to discern. What do you look for specifically? We don't give them, Hussein, broad information where they just say, oh, that sounds really good, but what do I do with it? I mean, we actually sift it down. Look for these things. When you see them doing these specific things, this is what you need to be looking for. I can ask your listeners 3 questions to prove my point.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. The first question is, think about the fires that you stomp out each day. Think about the times during the day when your stress level spikes and goes straight up. Think about the conversations you have during the day that at the end of the conversation, you had a conversation. You're not able to remember what you even talked about, other than the fact you have no more energy left. They just took it all from you.
Yeah.
All of those things, Hussein, have one thing in common. There's a name attached to them.
What's the name?
It's a person. They're all individual people, right?
Yeah.
So we teach people, look for these deeds. And when you pull these people in close, you're going to become collateral damage.
Yeah.
So when we say giver, we're not identifying a person. We're labeling the deeds of the person.
Exactly.
When we say taker, we're not labeling the person. We're labeling the deeds of the person.
Yeah. So this is why they say, if you want to be a millionaire, for example, surround yourself, your averaged 5 people or 5 friends, you came up like them. So if they are positive mental attitude, you would be like them. If they have negative thoughts, you would be almost the same. So always surround yourself with like-minded people that you wanna reach, that you wanna reach your goal. So they can help you to do that.
Yep. And so what we did, you're exactly right on. Exactly right. I mean, that's the perfect explanation. And one of the things that we mentioned with that we've sort of taken everything that you just mentioned, and we've taken it and we've brought it to the next level. And that is because someone will say, you get people around you, get 5 good people around you, and everyone goes, yeah, that's a good idea. I can see I need to do that. But no one says, what do I look for in these 5 people?
Yeah, exactly. This is a good
Right?
question. Yes.
Yeah. So what do I look? How do I know who the 5 people are? How do I discern who they are? I'm a self-improvement guy. I like to self-improve. I can tell you are, Hussein. I can tell you're a self-improvement guy too. And that's a great thing. But no one else other than Givers University is saying, what about the other guy? What if he's not doing it right? Do I need to pull him in my life? And now I'm stomping out fires, not of my making.
Yeah.
So that's a big difference.
Exactly.
So we teach people discern. And these are the things. One of the things we're going to give your listeners, we want to give it to them. It's called the 6 arrows that takers shoot at givers. And these are the arrows that, and when someone looks, it's actually in a list, and they look at it and they go, oh, this is great. Because they never realized until you look at it, that the things are actually there. I'll give your listeners a couple of the arrows right now if you'd like.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. One of the arrows would be, a taker, when you're talking with them, will switch from a fact-based, high moral ground conversation into personal attacks.
Yeah.
In other words, they will switch from having a conversation based on the facts.
Yeah.
And they'll switch gears, and then you'll hear them say, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it becomes personal about them. Like if you are even right, they will tell you that you're wrong, and it's making sense, and this is not the thing, not the solution. Yeah.
Yeah. In other words, you're exactly right. They switch from the actual conversation, the facts, and
become defensive,
and they switch to personal attacks. They start attacking the person they're talking to personally. You don't know me. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know the and because they can no longer talk about the information. So that's one of the arrows to be watchful for. A second one is takers. Second arrow, and we're going to give them all 6. We're going to give it to them free. We want them to have it, right? It's a list of their life. The second one is a taker will try to transfer their taker guilt onto the giver by making references of, you made me angry, right? Actually, the reference is not even true. No one can make someone else angry. We have to allow them. Yeah. We have to allow them to make us angry.
Exactly. When we are angry, we allow ourselves to be angry or upset or whatever.
Exactly. But they will say, you made me do this. You did that to me. You made me do it. See, it's always about the other person as they're doing the blame game.
Yeah.
Transferring the guilt from what they did onto someone else. So those are 2 of the 6 arrows we're going to give your listeners so they can actually see themselves. And when they look at it, Hussein, they go, wow, this is really, really great stuff.
Yeah.
And because now these are the things you look for when you see someone doing these things. Now you can begin to discern, should I pull them in closer? Should I begin respectfully distancing? Because when I pull a taker in closer, Hussein, I start stomping out those fires they brought with them.
Yeah.
What happens to my productivity? It goes down because I'm not able to work on what I need to work on.
Exactly.
I'm stomping out fires, right? So we teach people, and their productivity goes up. Their happiness level goes up because they have the right 5 kind of people around them that you mentioned.
Yeah.
And they know what to look for.
Exactly.
So those are the 6 arrows. Yeah. Those are 2 of the 6 arrows.
Yeah. So to me, like giving in whatever form it is, it's makes a better living for the human.
Exactly right.
Yeah. So let me ask you, when did you when you meet someone along, how you can help them with that, being a giver and thinking about being just about taking, and thinking that it's all about that?
Well, two great things I can share with you, which I think are very important. And that is, the first thing I would recommend for your listeners is if they have someone, maybe, maybe someone's close to them, someone they love, and they know they could tell they're being a little takerish, they're a little bit too much taking, but they love them and they don't want to hurt their feelings, but
Yeah.
they want to bring up the subject and say, hey,
That's it. Here we draw a little bit of a gray line. I don't want to say a red line.
yeah, exactly. So what do you say? One of the very best things they can do, Hussein, is to share a podcast called Success Grind with them. Here's why. The information you and I are talking about today,
Success
someone
grid.
else,
Yeah.
Success Grid. So, I said grind, I meant grid. Sorry.
No.
And I appreciate the clarification for sure, because it is a grid, not a grind. It's a grind if we make it that.
Yeah.
So it is a grid. Thank you for the clarification. They should share Success Grid with people they know, and here's why. It's a great way to bring in a subject from a third party where they can say, you know what? I listened to this great podcast and it was very thought-provoking. It made me think about some things. Listen to it and give me your opinion. See, now that's a great way. By sharing Success Grid with others, the person who shared it could be the beneficiary because they may have one less fire to put out because they made the person think a little bit. So that's number one. Number two, we have a free quiz that would like all your listeners to do. It's 7 questions. They can do it in 4 minutes or less. And at the end of the quiz, it's multiple choice, right? And the title of the quiz, Hussein, is, what is your givers and takers awareness IQ?
Okay.
What is your givers and takers awareness IQ? And it's a quiz that sort of helps them understand how are they looking at the deeds of others.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just say, we'll get back to the quiz a little bit, but let's just go back to your mentor. Was everything easy and perfect after you met your mentor and applied what he was saying?
It's a great question, and actually, no. What he did is he taught me and helped me through the major defeats that anyone that's on the road to success will come across. And one of the things he taught me, Hussein, was every adversity, not some of them, every adversity in life carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. And he taught me how to look for those things. And I had 3 major defeats in my life, and they're temporary defeats. He told me, he said, don't use the word failure. He said, failure sounds too eternal.
Yeah, exactly. Failure feels like you are knocked down and you stayed down.
Exactly.
But defeat, you can fight back and score a goal or get a result or whatever. So what the 3 defeats that you had?
Well, they were all business associated, and actually there's a significant story with each one of them. So I'll spare your listeners the story with, and the first one had to do with a business partner that had and totally blindsided me on how he wanted to take over the company.
Okay.
And that led me to writing the first book called The Giver's Mindset, because I didn't want to be in that position ever again. I wanted to learn, what do I do? So in that course that later on became a Givers University course, we have the 6 arrows that we're going to give your listeners. We also have a checklist. We're also going to give them absolutely free. That's called the 25 do's. It's a 2-page checklist that goes through, these are the things that takers do that you should be watching for, and the 25 things givers do to help us define
between them.
Those are, and so my second major defeat was, again, a business partner. I was I was doing very, very well at the age of 33 years old. I was very blessed at 33. That was the first year in my life that after taxes, after I paid all of my taxes and personal income, I had $1 million left in my pocket.
Wow, awesome, great.
Yeah, and that's not business money. That's personal income, right? And after my taxes were all paid and everything, I still had $1 million cash left in my pocket, literally, right? Awesome. And what happened with the business president that I employed at that company, and how he got greedy, and that caused my second major defeat. And I always say temporary defeat, because these defeats are temporary, when we begin to realize that there's a seed of a greater benefit inside of them,
Yeah.
and we look for that seed, we make the defeat temporary by doing that. And my business mentor said, he said, hey, when you get tackled on the football game, he said, when you stand up, you're going to realize you just got a first down. You're not, you got tackled, but you're still got a
Yeah.
first down. You're not out of the game.
Yeah,
You're not out of the
exactly.
game. You're still in it.
You can go up and fight back.
Exactly right. And then my third major defeat was again that had to do with an actual agency that I fought, and these were long, protracted kinds of events. But each one had a seed of an equal or greater benefit, and those became the courses, the 3 courses of Give to Be Great that is based on Givers University. And all of this started with that vow and commitment at 19 years old to my business mentor that I would teach everyone else what he taught me.
So to you, was that all worth it with your 3 defeat, do you think? And what advice would you give entrepreneurs in business starting out today?
Well, was it all worth it? I studied a gentleman. I'm sure you've heard of him. His name's Walt Disney.
Yeah.
And I remember when he was being interviewed, and a lot of people don't know, by the way, that at one time Walt Disney had to leave the company. Walt himself had to leave the company for a whole year because he had a full-blown nervous breakdown.
Wow, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. I studied his life, and he, for a whole year, he actually says, I saw the live interview. I saw a recording of a live interview where he said every time he picked up the phone, he was crying uncontrollably for no reason. He literally was having a full-blown nervous breakdown, and had to leave Disney for a year, and then came back. A lot of people would never know that by looking at Walt Disney Company today, right? But and I saw him with an interview later on when the movie Mary Poppins came out.
Yeah.
And he was in Julie Andrews with him, and the question goes to your question that you asked me. They asked him, and the answer became so great. It's the same answer I would have to give because I love the way he said it. When they asked him, Walt, would you do it all again? He said, yes, I would, but I sure hope I don't have to. and it's the same answer I would have to give.
Well, that makes sense.
And the words of advice I would share with someone
Yeah.
is the 3 things that my business mentor shared with me to share to myself all the time, every day, to say the following. Your listeners should say this to themselves every day. I will never give up. I will keep rising up, and I will always overcome.
Definitely, yes. Can you repeat that again?
Yes. I will never give up. I will keep rising up, and I will always overcome.
Awesome. So you mentioned before you had like a program called Givers Exceptional Mindset. How anyone in general can adopt the exceptional mindset?
Well, they actually do it. The first thing they would do is start the relationship with Givers University.
Yeah.
We do that by virtue of that quiz. It's a free quiz. Literally, they go to Givers, it's plural, giversuniversity.info, INFO. And when they go there to that URL, they're actually on the first question. They're on the page. And it's multiple choice. They just hit each one. And then at the end, they get a free assessment based on their answers on how they're doing, right? And then from that, within minutes, saying we're going to give them the 6 arrows that takers shoot at givers. A couple days later, we're going to give them the 25 do's. It's a 2-page checklist. We want them to print it off, walk around with it, because it's going to help you in your life choosing those 5 people that you need to have around you, right? And then from that, they begin to learn about our courses, and we teach them by constantly giving and sharing things with them. And one of the things they will learn is how to have that exceptional life by adopting the giver's mindset. The giver's mindset is the way a giver thinks, and that's actually our first course. And they'll learn all about that by doing the quiz.
Yes. So can you give us a final takeaway from all of this?
Yes. When you are a giver, people will take advantage of you, but you are never diminished. See, people always are afraid. I'm afraid of giving because what if they take advantage of me? What if they use me? What if they? But factually, when you're a giver, expect it to happen. It's gonna. That's what takers do. That's their job. That's what they do, right? So I tell people, be prepared. When you're a giver, people will take advantage of you, but you're never diminished because they did.
Yeah.
What you give to them, they will lose your relationship. They will lose you. You'll no longer be in their life. And what you gave to someone else will come back to you from another business, another person, another relationship. So I share with your listeners, give. And when you're through giving, give. And when you're through giving, give.
Awesome. So that's we are below zero. Which is because to tell you a little story about giving. One day I was walking in the streets and I had like about $20. These were my last money, and the end of the month for the paycheck was like for the next 10 days or 7 days. So it's a long time, and I only have these $20. And a lady came in to me and told me that she needed money. She's poor. She doesn't have any money. And I was thinking, well, okay, take it. Here it is, and it's my final money. So that day, on that moment, I went home walking. It was like about 15 miles walk to home. Imagine that. And
Wow.
but the next day, actually, I got some money from other people who just gave me money. I know, for some reason. I had money coming in for no reason. So you never know when you give how it comes back to you. Yes.
And it always will. Always.
Yeah.
Not sometimes. 100%. 100%.
So sooner or later. Yes, definitely. Awesome. So, EA, do you have any future projects you're working on, or?
Well, we're going to take Givers University in many directions. We'd actually love to bring it into your area in the future.
Awesome.
So we have some very aggressive plans. We actually have a 30-year plan, month by month, where Givers University is going to be to accomplish our objectives. So I can fulfill my vow and my oath and my commitment to my business mentor.
Awesome. Well, EA, thank you very much for being here today with me on the Success Secret podcast. You can check out his website, giversuniversity.info, right?
They go to the quiz there and do the quiz. It only takes 4 minutes, just that fast.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on your great podcast.
Thank you.